Hey Branson, how are you? Hey Branson, how you doing today?
Hey Dennis, how you doing, sir?
All right, how are you?
Doing all right.
All right. Hey Grant, how you doing?
Doing good, Dennis. How are you?
All right, I made you co-host, hopefully.
Yep, thank you.
Today we're going to have Andy Kurtz, hopefully.
Awesome.
You've heard him before, haven't you?
I think so. I know there was two Andys. Is he the Burt's Bees guy?
No, this is the packaging guy,
Oh, okay.
the branding and packaging guy.
I think I have. Yeah.
Long hair, kind of a hippie looking guy.
Sounds familiar.
Good guy. So Brandon, I just learned something about video that I thought was pretty cool. I was able to remove the soundtrack from a downloaded video on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
That was cool. So the video that's playing in the background is a chicken farm, and it had really obnoxious music. So I was able to get rid of the music. I just thought that was very cool.
I
I
just
did it with Google Photos, believe it or not.
oh yeah. Google has a lot of robust editing features people don't really know that they have because you just usually just deal with the main Google the drive and the mail and the other things you really like the sheets and different things that they have that really can work with your business. A lot of people overlook it with Google, I think.
Well, I don't think they do a very good job of explaining what they have. You have to kind of either read about it or figure it out somehow. Like, I had no idea that you could remove audio from video using Google Photo. I mean, never would have crossed my mind to even look there. But it's really easy. Anybody can do it. So, you know, live and learn. Hey, Ruth, Kime, Jack.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Good.
far.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Doing okay.
All right, did I see you post a doll on Facebook, Ruth?
Yes, my dad gave me that many years ago, and he passed in 2017, but I still love that doll for the 4th of July.
I was gonna Photoshop your face on it, but I figured you might not appreciate that.
Well, you could if you wanted to. It's all right.
I learned how to do something and I look for all these weird ways to apply it, and usually non-productive and time wasting, but hey,
Well,
here's my man Andy. Go ahead, Ruth, go ahead.
it would not be offensive if it's a cute doll.
All right, well, I was a little nervous to, I want you to like me for a while longer. Normally, once people get to know me, it's like I always get invited once, to a party or something. So, that's just, some people are like that. Andy, my man, Andy Kurtz.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you,
All
Dennis?
right. I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
Hair is shorter, isn't it?
Doing good.
Greensboro still on the map, I suppose?
Still
I never
here.
get out there anymore.
Still here.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to introduce everybody that doesn't know Andy. Andy is a good friend, and I was his client at one time, and he really helped me out with a brand that was floundering, and his expertise was most appreciated, and his little son is really cute. And now he's got a daughter too, right?
Yep. Romy.
Yeah, I can't keep up, man. It's like, I need a scorecard. But anyway, I'm going to let Andy give you a little bit more of his background. But from a high level, what Andy is really good at is consumer packaged goods, packaging, branding, positioning. He has forgotten more than I know on the subject. So I think it'll be very helpful to everybody. And I think he's working on a new product offering that might work for this class in terms of ways to get some help in an affordable way. So with that, Andy, I'll hand it off to you.
Sounds great, Dennis. Thank you so much for that great intro. And I always love talking to your class. So I'm glad that I keep getting invited back.
You're a nice guy, so you don't have the problem I do. So
well, I'll share my screen. Let's see, let me get this going first. There we go. Let's see, that's the one I want, I think. Okay. Can everybody see that? For Dennis, can you see it?
I can see it good. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so like Dennis said, my studio is called Buttermilk Creative. We usually just shorten it to Buttermilk. And today we're gonna be talking about packaging design. I think I see some familiar faces here. So hopefully this won't be too boring or too repetitive, but I feel like some of these basics, just based on the conversations I've had with other clients, some of the sort of basic foundational stuff is well worth sort of explaining and talking through because, I think we don't know what we don't know. Like Dennis said, we've forgotten a lot of stuff, or we just never learned it. And I assume that because I do this day in and day out, that everybody knows this stuff. Everybody knows what a die line is. Everybody knows what different packaging formats are. But really, if you're either just starting off or just work within a certain category, you might not know all this stuff. So that's what we're going to go over. And then we're going to go over some case studies, as well as some, so like Dennis said, like a program that we've developed. So anyways, so we'll jump right into it. And if anybody has any questions or anything like that, Dennis, I guess they can raise their hand or interrupt me, just however you want to do it. This is very informal. So just real quick, who we are, my wife and I, we run Buttermilk Creative. It's really just us. We're intentionally small because in our former lives, when we worked at the Fresh Market, we worked with really big agencies and brands, and it felt very just manufactured. You get passed around to an account executives, account managers, all this kind of stuff. And we just felt like, if you have the right team together, you can really be very creative and accomplish a lot of stuff. So that's why we remain intentionally small. We have a team of contractors that we work with as needed. But if you're going to work with us, you're going to work with me. And then Nicole sends out the invoices and project manages and all that kind of stuff. So we've been both working in this world of specialty food and beverage brands for over 15 years now. Post Fresh Market, we've worked with big retailers like Publix. We continue to work with the Fresh Market and Wegmans, supplementing their in-house design departments, because we know the weird world that is in-house design at a grocery store. But we also work with brands like Do4 Puff Pastry. It's a pastry brand that is in all of the Whole Foods, and we help them refresh their packaging and add a new product line after 30 years, which was plant-based puff pastry. So they have traditional butter, now they have plant-based, and we help them sort of bridge that gap. Whitley's Peanut Factory right up the road in Virginia in Williamsburg, 30-year-old, 30, I guess, plus year old family run company that we helped. You'll see some of their work later on in this. Buttercraft Provisions is a new up and coming brand that has won a Sophie Award with the Specialty Food Association for their products. They make butter, obviously. And then old French brand Eau de Lys de Bois that they make truffle butter. We help them sort of refresh their packaging, again, bridge that gap between old and new. So here's what we'll be covering. Why packaging design is important, the elements of packaging design, some case studies and examples. So why is packaging design so important? You've probably talked to Dennis a lot and other folks about manufacturing and making sure your products are created properly, and you've done all your P's and Q's from a legal perspective. But packaging is just as important, because it really is how you get noticed, either on the physical shelf like you see here, or on the virtual shelf like on Amazon or on your own website. So no matter how great your product is, if customers don't pick it up off the shelf and buy it, they'll never try it. So if it's ugly, if it just doesn't resonate with them, your target audience, all that kind of stuff, you need to give them something recognizable and ownable so they know how to find you. Like this Cheez-It. If we just look at this, blur our eyes, we don't see it. But as soon as we have those recognizable brand touch points, we know exactly where to go. We know exactly where to find the Cheez-Its, and we put it in our basket right away. So just a couple quick facts. Shoppers only spend a few seconds in front of a shelf. And they're, like you just saw in that picture, they're faced with countless options and information. And 95% of purchases are based on emotions versus logic. That's why color and imagery is so important. And we really just have 20 feet. And actually, I need to update this. It's now 1.5 seconds to attract a consumer's attention at shelf and spur a purchase. So that's not a lot of time. So we have to be very economical and very efficient with what we communicate on our packaging design. So here's some of the elements of packaging design: packaging format, die line and print specs, technical content, messaging and design. So so when we talk about packaging formats, it's really what your product is going to go into. Is it going to go into a carton? Is it going into a bag, a bottle with a label, a jar, all these kind of things? That's when we talk about packaging format. So if I start a project with you, I'll say, okay, well, what kind of format is it going in? And so when I talk about format, that's what I mean. Another thing that I would ask you is for a die line. So die lines are provided by printers and manufacturers. It is a standard sort of template that they're going to use. I'm going to use to drop my artwork in. They're going to use to print from. And it has certain elements like you can see here. This is for a yogurt cup. So you can see, I know where the boundaries are of the artwork. I know where to put the UPC. I know they're even telling me where to put the front of it versus where to put the nutrition box and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a ton of information that's on these die lines. This one, just so you can see sort of how different they are, this is it's pretty simple for the yogurt cup. And then this is for a chip bag. So you can see it gets a little bit more complicated because I need more information for a chip bag. Chip bags are printed flat and then they get converted to what we know, what we recognize as a chip bag shape. So you can see that there's flaps and things like that that are called out on this chip bag so that I know to not put any artwork in those places that are going to be either distorted or hidden or even cut off. So that's what that trim means, is that's where it's actually going to get cut off. And it's also helpful, it shows me dimensions. So I have a reference for scale. A 1 ounce chip bag is going to be way smaller than a 12 ounce or 16 ounce chip bag. And so to know what that size and scale is really helps me sort of know how to design. There's also all this sort of information on a die line. So we know we're still on the chip bag. So we know that it's a matte BOP. It's going to be a film and it's going to be matte finish. So it's not glossy. So that again tells me what I need to be looking for with colors. And then I know there's special finishing. So in this case, there is no special finishing, but if there was a hang hole, that would be good to know. So I don't put any essential artwork there, the logo or anything like that, that's going to then get punched out and distorted. The measurements, like I said, we sort of know how big things are, how much to sort of account for as we design, and then color info. So in this particular case, it's a 5-color print. So because it's a film, it has it's transparent. So we have to put down a layer of white, and then the CMYK, that's 4-color printing, goes on top of that. There's also spot color printing as well. We also will ask for printer specs. So this is what a printer spec might look like. This is for the plastic tub printing. So I look here and I find things that are very important to design. So things like how big the fonts need to be. So on plastic tub printing, it is very crude. And so we have to design very large. So, 10-point type is pretty big when you think about maybe like a small little 8-ounce cup of yogurt. But that just is what it is, because it's just the way that the printing process is. You can't design too small, or those colors and everything will fill in on the press and it'll either be distorted or just not able to read. I'll also ask you about technical content. So your nutrition facts panel, and you don't necessarily need to have a formatted nutrition facts panel. I just need the numbers and the data, which if you go through NC State to get your product analyzed and get that information, they'll give you a report with various formats. But really what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that and put it into a format that is appropriate to your packaging size. So if you see certain, let's say a spices mix or a really small package that has the full nutrition format on it, that is not accurate. You shouldn't do that. You should put a more simplified nutrition facts table on there, which is allowed because it would be considered a small or intermediate size packaging. What you've done, if you've just sort of scaled down a large like this, a normal sized nutrition facts panel onto a really small packaging format, you've distorted everything. The numbers aren't readable and you're going to get flagged for that. So we sort of know what sizes need to be accounted for in the different formats. And so we can create that. Ingredient statements, we need those as well. And it's like the full ingredient statement. So if you're creating something that needs, or your product has elements that I'm trying to think of certain things like certain ingredients have to be broken down even further. You can't just say bread, you have to then break it down further and further. We need the full ingredient statement. We know how to format it. We know where it needs to go on the packaging. We just need that data. And then UPC codes, we create all the UPC codes. We just need the numbers, which you register with, I guess, G10. The net weight, we know the format for that. We know where that needs to go. You just tell us what that actually is. And then your certification. So if you're USDA organic or non-GMO, you generally want those to go on the front of your packaging. You've invested a lot of money in getting those certifications. So you want to make sure everybody knows it. And we know, at least with these larger certifying organizations, we sort of know where they need to go and how big they need to be on the packaging, all that kind of stuff. So they'll still approve it. You still have to send it to them. At least the non-GMO project has to approve artwork, but we at least know enough to get you past their sort of certifiers. So then let's sort of shift gears. So that was very technical, all that kind of stuff. Now it's getting into more of like the emotional side of things. So when we talk about elements of packaging design and we're looking at design and messaging, and this would be called the front of pack or the PDP. So generally you're going to have the logo on there, pretty prominent. You're going to have the flavor or product name identifier on there as well, which also has to be pretty prominent. Some sort of product or brand image. So in this case, it's this sort of silly mouth with the product in the mouth. Some relevant call outs. I recommend at most 3, like we just 20 feet away, 1.5 seconds. We don't have a lot of time to read a novel on a packaging design. So we really want to keep that pretty slim. And these call outs are relevant to your core audience. So, in this case, these are healthy snacks. And so having that protein call out was important. Having something sort of trendy like protein from plants was important. And then the calorie count was important for his audience. So these are what he has a lot more that he could have put on this packaging, at least on the front, but these are the 3 that we decided on. And then design and messaging doesn't just stop at the front. You still have opportunities along the back. So for this little tiny seasoning bottle, we were able to look at and sort of see where can we integrate some additional messaging around getting people to understand how they can use this. It's not just sprinkle it on veggies or whatever, or meat. You can also put it on seafood, eggs, chicken, potatoes, whatever. Just really trying to drive home the fact that this is a very versatile seasoning. And then there's always generally romance copy, where you're trying to further tell the story. This is not stuff that people are going to necessarily read on shelf. They might read it if you have a sort of curious customer that has a lot of time on their hands. They'll pick it up off the shelf and read about it. But really, this is more for like when you get home and sort of unpacking, putting it away in your pantry, and you're starting to read this. And then obviously the UPC as well is there on the back. Another thing that we look at with elements of packaging design is how it's going to look out in the real world. So this is a planogram grocery or dairy set for one of our clients that you'll see in a second. And so what we wanted to do while we were designing their packaging is actually put them on shelf, whether we go and take the picture ourselves, which we sometimes do, or if a grocery buyer can supply planograms of their current set, and then we just Photoshop in their packaging. But we use this as a tool while we're designing so we can sort of see where the visual opportunities are. So what the client that we're looking at is this sort of blue block on the second shelf down here, and then this sort of light blue on the 1/4 shelf down, and then this dark blue at the bottom shelf. So you can see like it's a sea of sort of lighter colors, pastels, some pops of color, but what we saw was opportunity around deep saturated blues, different types of blues to help them stand out on shelf.
Hey, Andy.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in here real quick. So when Andy was helping me with our muscadine juice product, Carolina Wild, our first packaging that we got, which we were very excited about, we had a custom bottle, all kinds of cool stuff. But what happened was when we put it on the shelves at stores, you could not see our little bottle. It was so low in the shelf that we ended up actually tying a tag around the top just so you could see it. It was too dark and it was too small. And Andy solved that problem for us. He was able to help us with packaging that was more in line with, how does it appear on the shelf? So I just want to make a point that, and we actually spent over $1 million on branding, and we had a New York agency and the whole 9 yards. And those morons never even took a second to think about what is it going to look like on a shelf. And so that was a real eye opener for me. Unfortunately, I had already spent most of the money by the time I met Andy. But this is a really important thing out in the real world. You look at your product all the time. It might be sitting on your desk. It might be, images that you have, all of the above. But I cannot emphasize how important actually being visible on the shelf, and even more so, what Andy started off this talk by saying that you now have, I think it was a fraction of a second to get someone's attention when they're walking by in a store. So, this is just a really critical piece that I just wanted to highlight.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andy.
No, that's fine. No, that's a great anecdote. And another thing you mentioned, Dennis, is sort of that balance between what is appropriate for the category and how can you bend those rules a little bit. So clearly your Carolina Wild, the original bottle, while it was innovative, very interesting, it almost had like a palm juice look and feel to it. It was a little too extreme for the category, which was at that time growing. We had like new cold pressed juices. Suja was coming on the market. Just a lot of Rebel Greens, all these new products were coming on the market at that time. And they were all in that sort of tall, slender bottle. And so that's what we ended up going with for the revamped Carolina Wild, was that tall, slender bottle. And that helped it sort of stand out and be on the shelf with the other competitors. So that's another thing you have to think about. And then it's also just efficiency of space. So like if you have, there's a reason why a lot of olive oil, just an example, a lot of olive oil bottles are that sort of standard size and shape, and not these sort of like funky, crazy sizes and things like that, because you have to fit a certain amount on a shelf. And the last thing you want to do with a grocery buyer is provide a product that doesn't fit efficiently on a shelf, because now they're losing real estate and all that kind of stuff. So it's just it's a balance, and really what's appropriate for the brand as well. In this yogurt case, it's just there are only so many options for yogurt cups. And so, you can see Chobani has some sort of funky cups on this top row, but for the most part, it's all very consistent, and that's just sort of is what it is. It's hard to sort of innovate within that world, especially being a new and up and coming brand. So here's some case studies we'll walk through real quick. So just to further show you the Melt-O-Me brand that we helped create. So this is premium Greek yogurt, brand new. They're actually based in Winston-Salem, but their yogurt cultures actually come from the Isle of Crete. So this is a very authentic product, and so we really wanted to try to create that authenticity in the packaging. So Melt-O-Me is just simply put, is like the trade winds that sort of blow through the Greek Isles. And so what we wanted to represent in the packaging is sort of that feeling of the Mediterranean and the islands and the Greek Isles. And so that's what you see here, sort of very sort of abstractly done. And then the font as well, the font chosen for the logo also feels like columns, you know, and it feels sort of classic and Grecian. So that sort of helps accentuate that as well. None of this conveys, like, it doesn't, you don't need to know all this as a consumer. This is just sort of like nerdy background stuff that you all get to learn. We just wanted to make a really compelling, interesting packaging design, but all of these little details we feel like helps support that vision. So you can see that there's a whole family of products here. So we started with their core line, which is the dark blue background, and designed those, and then moved on to their lower sugar, and just looked for opportunities of how can we create a consistent billboard with between the two categories, but then also create ways to differentiate so that when you send your significant other to the store, they don't pick up the wrong product, like often happens with when, you know, you have a lower sugar offering versus a full fat offering and that kind of stuff. Whitley's Peanut Factory, I mentioned this earlier. So we helped them rebrand after, I guess it was after 25 years maybe. It's a family run business. The son had taken over, and so he was ready to sort of make his mark on the family business. So we helped them sort of refresh their packaging, refresh their branding, but not alienate from their customers. You know, so we didn't do something radical. We didn't go completely crazy here, but we did help them sort of figure out how to better organize their packaging with the front. And better communicate the different categories. So we, you know, sort of brought the product name more prominent, added some secondary messaging for storytelling, and then help them sort of organize all their various products with this flavor call out badge. So you always know whether you're going to get salted or unsalted or milk chocolate or dark chocolate. And then we help them sort of think about where the relevant certifications can go. And on the back, we further help them with storytelling around creating a consistent brand message that always goes on the top of this box that is on the back of the label. And then there's a unique product message that's different for each product below there. And then there's these additional call outs. So we created a whole library of claims. They validated the claims like cholesterol free and gluten free and all that kind of stuff. And then we just created the icons and helped them create a library that they can use on packaging. They can use it on social media and all that kind of stuff in their catalogs, all that kind of stuff, just to help their customers understand these value added benefits from their products. And you can see that this is just a fraction of all the products they have, because there's different sizes and a lot of different offerings. But you can see that we sort of created this system that they can now plug and play into. So when they want a new mix, they know that they are going to create a green label, drop in the new product names, all that kind of stuff, and then they're off to the races. Whereas before, they were sort of creating new labels as they developed the product, which turned out was sort of impeding their product development process, because they would think about, oh, I'd love to launch this new seasoning flavor or whatever, but just the label design alone was so cumbersome that would sort of, you know, keep pushing it. They'd keep kicking the can down the road, and they would never develop a new flavor because it was just so hard to get that label into production. So this gives them a new system that they can really just plug and play into, and a good organizational sort of hierarchy for the customer. So if you're used to always going in there and buying their Virginia peanuts, you know to look for that red band. Or if you're a seasonings person, you know to look for the yellow band, so on and so forth. And you saw a little bit of this before, but Haas Snacks, this is a really new brand from Charlotte, and he wanted to, compete with the new category of healthy snacks. Healthy, if you think about the traditional snack category, specifically around chips, Cheetos, Funyuns, all that kind of stuff that we love makes you feel terrible. So he wanted to, but we love eating it because we love the flavors. So what he wanted to do was, okay, let's take the flavors of those chips and those really bad snacks, and let's make them healthy and feel good. So that's what he's created here, and they are very good. But they also had to be fun. They can't. Snacks are meant to be fun. So we created this little mouth and his logo to sort of emulate sort of a face smiling at you from the shelf. And then we did some storytelling on the back. Again, see, he has other things that he could talk about, but these were not important enough to go on the front. He really wanted to drive home the protein count, and then that statement, protein from plants, and then the calorie count. And just to sort of close out here, I'm going to go over our packaging design best practices. So, you really want to use simple, direct messaging that really resonates. Uncover the core messaging that the consumer immediately responds to on an emotional level. That's also sort of part of probably your foundational brand work that you probably have been doing. So these are sort of, they also cover outside of packaging design. I think these are good best practices. Develop key product points that are direct, simple to assimilate, and support the emotional response with rational reasons to make the purchase. Strive for an ownable, unique package structure, color, and strong visual cues as brand identifiers and differentiators. So that's where, when you take it on shelf, that's going to help sort of identify what these opportunities are. And then a well-planned packaging design system and support it with a style guide, because when you don't have a plan and you're just creating these one-off package designs, it can just lead to brand incohesiveness, and you just don't have. It's very laborious to add products, and you're always going to want to innovate and do product development. So when you have a system that you can plug into, that just helps facilitate that process. So as Dennis mentioned, well, here, let me stop here. Does anybody have any questions before I get into our diagnostic discussion?
I want to try something. This may not work. I want to try to share my screen just real quick
Sure.
and just show everybody. Oh, okay. Let's see here.
If I have to stop.
No, yeah, I don't think you have to. I think I'm able to do this, hopefully. I just wanted to show our Carolina Wild bottle. Can you guys see it? No?
Nope.
Okay, well, forget it. Can't do it. You're the one, Andy. I'll do this later.
Are you sure?
I saw it.
I'm positive. I can show them later. No problem.
I saw it too.
Oh, you all saw it? Maybe it's because I was on full screen. Here, let me try this. Try it again.
Okay.
Dennis.
All right, let's see here. We'll give it a try. So can you all see that? Con,
Yes.
you can't see it?
Not on my end, nope.
Okay, well,
I think if you have 2 or 3 monitors, you can see it, because I have 3 monitors and I'm able to see it.
oh,
I'm
okay.
on my phone.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll do this later. No problem. Go ahead, Andy.
Okay. All good. Let's see. Let me pop this back up. Okay. So actually, out of discussions with Dennis and with other students from the class, other participants from the Accelerate Rural class, we've developed this program called a packaging design diagnostic. Because you are more than likely starting off and you are investing in a lot of other things, you might not have enough money to do a full packaging design project with us, which generally starts around $3,500. And so what we've developed is something that is a little bit more, we think, very beneficial. And it would be something we would do if we did a full-blown packaging design project with you. We would be doing this anyways. And so it's just sort of like starting everyone off, giving them a head start. And then when you're ready, when you have that further investment, and you've maybe gotten some retail sales and all that kind of stuff, and you're ready to start working with us, we can just go straight into it, jump right into it, and we have this diagnostic to go by. So what this is it's a whole program. So we kick it off with a 15-minute call where we just sort of talk through goals and objectives, sort of understand what your brand is about, your products, look at the packaging design that you have. And then we do a packaging design we'll create a packaging design diagnostic checklist. So we will take your packaging and just go through it. And we've developed this checklist that sort of has both technical recommendations and design recommendations. And what we do is we just sort of go through it, and where we need to, we can make notes. But this is just a reminder for us what to look for, and then for you as a guide to follow once we hand it over. And then we will ask you for a PDF document of your existing packaging. That can be printer proofs. It can be Canva document or whatever it is. We just need some kind of digital format that we can then create into a PDF. And then what we do is we go through and we make comments. We make design comments. So, we make recommendations not only from, and we're using that checklist as a guide. So we're looking at whether, your net weight is appropriate, or where there are opportunities for visual, adding more visuals, different visuals, adjusting the size of your logo, adjusting the size of your product name, all that kind of stuff. So you can sort of see in this example, we can get into the nitty-gritty details of your packaging in this diagnostic. We also create a visual effectiveness report, which looks something like this. And it's software that we take your packaging and we run it through. And what it can do is predict what customers will see on your packaging at first glance with 92% accuracy. And what this does is sort of take a lot of that subjectivity out of packaging design and sort of our opinions. We obviously are biased and we have opinions just like you do. And it helps us sort of really focus and understand these 4 key points or these 4 key areas to understand the effectiveness of your packaging. And so this just gives you a good sense of where the areas of opportunities are in your current packaging, and then will help guide us when we will hopefully help you redesign your packaging. So we know that if, in this areas of interest, if you really want your logo to stand out, but it's sitting at, like in this example, 46%, whereas these 2 call outs are 96%, then we know that we need to increase the contrast of your logo to help it stand out more. That's sort of a very simple explanation, but this is a very helpful tool that really is eye-opening, because a lot of people think their packaging is the greatest thing in the world. And we run it through this software, and it really is eye-opening and sort of shows you that it's maybe not as, there are opportunities. And then we then hop back on a phone call with you, 30 minutes, to sort of go through our findings, walk you through everything, so there's no questions, and so you understand everything. So sort of for the general population out there, that's $750, but for this particular group, because we love Dennis so much and his students are so great, we've offer it for $500. And really, what you do is to book that first 15-minute call, you'll pay for the program, and then we can knock it out within 1 to 2 weeks. And if you decide after doing the diagnostic that you want to work with us on a full packaging design project, we just roll this fee that you've already paid into, it's essentially a deposit on your new packaging design project. And if you want to go ahead and book this, or at least, just flag this, bookmark it, whatever, this will take you to the booking page. And we'll send this out. I know Dennis will send it out later. And then because of the success of this packaging design diagnostic program, we've also started to develop a website diagnostic program as well. And so we're just building this right now, but as you can imagine, with COVID pandemic and everything, our website work increased a bunch. And so we've done quite a few more websites over the past couple years. And this really is to, just based on those projects and sort of how we can be more helpful in helping people, especially with a website redesign. Oftentimes you don't have to totally blow up your existing website. It's just, we're looking for opportunities to improve it. And so what this will do is it'll cover, like the packaging design diagnostic does, it'll cover both technical on the back end side of things, and from a design perspective, sort of understanding, okay, you have these design elements in your branding and packaging that is not reflected in your website. Here's how we recommend you would do that. So it'll be the similar price range and similar sort of process of intake and kickoff calls and reviews and all that kind of stuff. So just keep an eye out for that. I'll let Dennis know when we're ready for that. And then obviously I'm available for questions or anything as you all sort of let all this stuff digest and want to reach out. I'm happy to chat. And then also Dennis can send out my contact info. So that is it, everybody.
Any questions from you guys?
I wish I had heard this like 3 weeks ago. I just turned in my packaging design like 2 days ago, and we just went through all this, and a lot of this information I wish I would have seen. I remember some of it from the first time I met you, Mr. Andy, but
Yeah.
a lot of it I really needed to see this before I had that conversation with him. But now that I have it, I think I can go back and make some changes.
I was going to say, and the good news is, most, I don't know an actual statistic, but I feel like in the first year or even first 5 years, you probably redesign your packaging at least every year. So, you're just this initial launch that you've done, or this particular packaging design will be revisited probably within the next year or so.
Yes, sir. Have you ever worked with CBD products?
I have not. I've done a lot of proposals just with the interest here in North Carolina and abroad, but I have yet to actually work with the CBD brand. But
I think that's about to change, sir.
Oh yeah, I think.
I think I'm gonna be giving you a call. Like I just got a major endorsement deal, and I leverage my name and image with the product to get residual payment off of. So they told me to come up with my own packaging, my own branding. So everything's in production right now. The packaging hasn't went out yet, so we still have a couple of days to play with it. So I will be playing with it, and I'll be contacting you to get the pricing in.
Sure. And yeah, like anything, there are particular technical information and things like that in each category. So CBD is going to have a lot more requirements and sort of I don't know, like federal recommendations, state recommendations, that kind of stuff that can be said on the packaging that we're not really familiar with. But we can definitely sort of collaborate with you to sort of understand what those rules and regulations are and how to design around them.
Sir.
Anyone
Anyone
else?
else? Yeah. All right, before I let Andy go, I'm bound and determined to share this.
All right, I'll hop off.
No, you're fine. You're not sharing anymore.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. There we go.
Can you guys see it okay?
We can
Looks
see it.
good.
I've seen this before.
Okay. Well, just a couple things. So this is our bottle. This is not the bottle that Andy designed. This was the original bottle. And this was supposed to be a muscadine grape hanging on a vine. That was the thinking behind it. And this was actually silkscreen. It wasn't a paper or plastic label. It was part of the package. But as you can see, you can't really see it in context, but it's short and stubby. And when you go to the shelf, all you could see was the green top and a little bit of the neck.
Mhm.
So we put this green thing on here to try to get some attention, but it looked like, like in the shelf, it looked like a little kid or something in there, below everything. And you had to really dig to find it. And plus the juice was a very dark color. So when it was in the shelf, it also just was pitch dark. You just couldn't see anything. So I just wanted to show you what I was talking about.
It was great juice too.
It was. What we were trying to do was take the native muscadine grape here in North Carolina and try to turn it into a crop that farmers could grow here on a bigger scale. When you look at something like Welch's grape juice, they have hundreds and hundreds of grape growers, mostly up in New York State. And we thought we could help our area with people who grow. Right now, the only person or company buying muscadine grapes is Duplin Winery. Duplin Winery is actually the largest winery in the South. They do 500,000 cases a year of muscadine wine, but they have I think they have 54 farmers that grow for them. And because they aren't growing particularly, they're not hiring any new farmers. So part of our effort was to help the locals have another market to sell, because muscadines grow really well in Eastern North Carolina because of the high humidity and so forth. So anyway.
Hey Dennis, I found real quick the redesign that we did.
Oh, good. Share it.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it. I was looking while we were talking. Yay.
So that's where we and this is a digital mock-up, but you can sort of see it's in that sort of tall bottle with a label. And was the label did it have a foil backed shininess to it?
I don't think so. I think it was matte.
That's right. Yeah. So it but you can see how we sort of translated the issues that Dennis was talking about on shelf disappearing because it was too dark. Obviously, you and Elizabeth sourced the container, the bottle, but then we sort of helped maximize the space with the label and actually printed labels, and I think in Durham. But you can sort of see how we brightened everything up and sort of tried to create some hierarchy there. You all did the copywriting there, and then remember we started to expand into these other potential flavors. So thinking about the different how the line extensions might look with this anchor product. But
sweet potato juice was actually awesome.
Yeah,
there's a company that was making it, and I could not believe how good it was. And it was a tough sale. I tried selling a couple of grocery store guys on the idea of sweet potato juice, and they just kind of stared at me and said, "I don't think so." but it was still a possibility. So anyway.
That was a fun project.
Yeah, well, you were a good sport. We were not easy clients, that's for sure. Well, everybody, I'm gonna call the ball, as they say. So if no one has any more questions for Andy, we will share whatever information he wants to share so you guys can get in touch with him. And
Yeah.
I obviously highly recommend this consult. I think you'll learn some things that you just didn't know, and it'll come in handy, even if you don't ultimately decide to go into a full-fledged, process with Andy and his wife. You'll still be way ahead. And what we were able to do with Andy's help is, we were kind of a team. We worked with Andy, but it wasn't just Andy, pontificating and us doing what he said. It was an interactive sharing
Collaborative.
process, because we actually learned a few things by the skin of our teeth, I guess, by getting hit in the mouth enough. But it was very consultative type of approach. And I found it to be, really eye-opening. And I still bother Andy to this day, even though that was several years ago.
Keep bothering me. I'm happy.
All right. Well,
Well, thank you.
anyone
Thank you, everybody.
else got anything they want to throw out? All right. Well, Andy, thank you once again for
You bet.
joining us, and we look forward to you every time. I do anyway, and I'm sure some of the folks here do it as well.
Great.
So
Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you. I do too.
All right,
Thanks.
take care.
Okay, have a good one. Bye-bye.
And everybody, tomorrow we're gonna try this whiteboard thing with the KPIs. So come thinking about, I don't know how many we can do, but we can give it a shot and see if we can't make some progress with some of that stuff that we looked at last week. So that'll be tomorrow's coup de grace, final episode of this cohort. And so we'll see you all tomorrow.